Do you want to learn how to become a real estate photographer? Check out my course, How to Become a Real Estate Photographer, at rickmcevoyphotography.com. What if I told you that you don't need to travel to exotic locations to capture breathtaking landscape photos? Even in your local park, garden, or quiet street, the principles of stunning landscape photography apply. In this episode, we're making the possibility of creating great landscape photos accessible to everyone right where you are, right here, right now. Yes, dear listener, where you are right now. How exciting, eh? See, landscape photography is not just about vast sweeping vistas. It's about capturing a sense of place, the beauty of an environment, or the interaction of light and nature. And this could be the Grand Canyon or a single tree in your local park, and I like single trees in my local park. The goal is to convey the mood and atmosphere of a scene or place, making the viewer feel as though they're standing right there with you, or making them want to be there looking at what you're taking a photograph of. That's what we're trying to get here, okay? It's about composing, finding the right light, and understanding your surroundings to make a compelling photograph. That sounds good to me. Hello and welcome to the Photography Explained podcast. That was the answery bit. This is episode 213, your first 5 steps into landscape photography, even in your local park. A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever you are in the world, and whenever during the day you are listening to my splendid podcast. I'm your host, Rick, and in each episode, I try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish, without the irrelevant details. I'm a professionally qualified photographer. Easy for you to say, Rick, that's take 2 of a line I've done more than 213 times. Based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience, which I share with you in my utterly splendid podcast. Yeah, today we're talking those first crucial steps into the world of landscape photography. Whether you dream of capturing epic mountain ranges or you just want to make your local park look incredible, we'll cover the fundamental techniques that apply to any scene. This isn't complex theory, it's practical, easy to understand advice to get you started on your landscape photography journey. How utterly splendid, what is not to love? So let's get into this. I've got 5 top tips for you, which are your first 5 steps into landscape photography. And these will help you start capturing stunning landscapes no matter where you are. These things will simplify the process and help you achieve engaging, professional-looking landscape photos. Photos you can be proud of. What is not to love? Number 1, see the scene, finding your best viewpoint for landscapes. Your very first and most crucial step is simply to look around and explore. I've talked about this before, haven't I? Don't just stand where you first arrive and lift your camera. Walk around your chosen scene, even if it's just a small area in your local park or garden. Get low, get high, if safe. Move left, move right. Pay attention to how your viewpoint changes the relationship between foreground and background elements. See, what looks ordinary at eye level, it might look dramatic from down low. Things like making a small flower appear enormous against the sky. Or from up high, you can reveal interesting patterns, just different ways of looking at the same thing. This is such a powerful thing to be able to do. This deliberate act of exploration, it helps you eliminate distracting elements and also find unique perspectives and control what appears in your background, which will give you cleaner, more compelling images. Now, with landscapes, look for natural lines or shapes that can lead your eye into a scene. Things like a winding path, a row of trees, the curve of a river, that kind of thing. This simple act of exploring for the best angle, it's free, it costs you nothing other than your time. You don't need any gear, and it makes a huge impact to your final photo. Coming up with a different viewpoint from that everybody else is used to is such a powerful thing to do. It will transform your photos. I've talked about these photography superpowers many times before, and they are walking, looking and thinking. Yes, really. Right, that was number 1. That was good stuff, that, even if I do say so myself. So number 2, the light magic, best times for landscape photos. Now, there is a very heavy caveat to this at the end. Light is truly everything in photography, especially in landscapes. The word photography means drawing with light, let's not forget that, so light is important to us. The quality, direction and colour of light can transform an ordinary scene into something magical and something awful, let's not forget. Generally, you want to avoid harsh direct midday sun which creates strong unflattering shadows and blown out highlights. But if that's all you've got, check out episode 209, Taking Great Photos in Direct Sunlight, 5 Tips for Beating the Harsh Light. But if you can, aim for golden hour. Now, golden hour for me is more than an hour. I am talking the hour before and after sunrise, and the same with sunset. Things happen before and after. I just love being there anyway, so it's really not a problem to me. During these times, the sun's low in the sky and it produces soft, warm, golden light and beautiful long shadows that can add depth and drama. And this warm light, it can make greens richer, it can enhance textures, it can just make everything look better. Overcast days can also be fantastic, providing soft, even, diffused light. And they're perfect for things like intimate landscapes like woodlands, waterfalls, misty scenes, where you want to highlight subtle colours and details without the harsh shadows. Yes, even in your local park, golden hour light falling on a familiar tree or building can create a completely new feeling. Always pay attention to the direction of light. Whatever you're photographing, always pay attention to the direction of light. So important, I've said it twice. Side lighting brings out textures, front light flattens scenes, overhead light gives you harsh shadows, and backlighting can create stunning silhouettes and glowing edges. Checking the weather and sunrise and sunset times before you go out is obviously a good idea, but if you live in England like me, just make the best of what you have. Many days I'm just grateful it's not raining, let alone craving hours and hours of uninterrupted sunlight. And that reminds me of a question I've asked a number of times now. If you live somewhere where it's sunny all the time, is that boring? Because we're in England, we don't know what that's like, although it's been a good summer so far. Yeah, getting back to me in England and taking photographs, sorry about that. I've learned to do this over the years, just make the best of what you've got. And when I'm photographing a building for a client, I'm normally given a fixed time to do it. So I haven't got a choice. I've just got to make the best of what I've got. And that's something you get used to. I mean, sure, golden hour is great, but the realities of life often mean we have to take what is in front of us. We can't all do those things that you see on social media sites, the stunning sunrises and sunsets. Some of us have to take photos at other times of day. This is the reality. Do not constrain yourself just to those hours. If you can take photographs in golden hour, fantastic. But if you can't, make the best of what you got. Don't make that be a barrier to you. 3. Build your photo. Simple landscape composition rules. Composition is what you include in a photo and how you arrange the elements within that photo to give a balanced, pleasing image that guides the viewer's eye. Now, don't be overwhelmed by complex theories. There's far too many of them. This is what I suggest you do. Start with simple, powerful rules. And the first one, I've spoken about this before many, many times. It's the rule of thirds, my rule of composition best friend. Just imagine 2 equally spaced horizontal lines and 2 equally spaced vertical lines, dividing your frame into 9 equal boxes. Instead of placing your main subject dead centre, try placing points of interest where these lines intersect, or along one of the lines. For landscapes, a common thing to do is to place the horizon on either the top third or the bottom third. It depends which has got the most interesting bits, the foreground or the sky. And the beauty of doing this is that you haven't got the horizon in the middle of your photo, because that gives you an uncomfortable composition. You don't normally get a great photo with the horizon in the middle, because you've got the top half and the bottom half. It doesn't work. It's not a pleasing composition. So if you take one thing out of this and one thing only, put your horizon 1/3 or 2/3 up from the bottom. That will improve your photos. That's a good one, isn't it? What this actually does is it gives you a better composition. It's a more dynamic and it's a less static image. Basically, a nicer composition. And a nicer composition equals a better photo all day long. Also, look for leading lines. These are natural or man-made lines within your scene that can draw the eye from the foreground into the background towards your main subject, wherever you want them to go, really. Just think of winding paths, rivers, fences, roads, even the edge of a field. Leading lines add incredible depth and guide the viewer on a journey through your photo. And this is what we want to do. Make the experience of looking at a photo interesting and pleasurable. And the longer someone spends looking at a photo, the better. If you think of just scrolling through endless feeds of average photos, you want a photo that people are going to stop and go, oh, that's good, I like that. That's what we're aiming for. You want to take photos that stand out from everything else. Number 4, camera settings explained, basic landscape photography settings. For sharp landscapes that are in focus from the very front of the scene to the distant background, you'll want to use a narrow aperture which is represented by a large f number like f8, f11, f16, f22, f32 if your lens has got it. A narrow aperture creates a deep depth of field, or depth of sharpness as I of course like to call it, because that's what it is. And this ensures that most, if not all, of your scene remains sharp. But because narrow apertures let in less light, you will often find you need a slower shutter speed to get a correct exposure. And this is where a tripod comes into use, as we discussed in episode 210 and many others. Using a tripod allows you to use very slow shutter speeds without any camera shake, and that gives you pin-sharp images in low light. And for ISO, always use the lowest possible setting, which is typically ISO 100. To keep your images clean, free of digital noise and rich in detail. See, when you go from the lowest native or base ISO and increase it, what you're doing is you are digitally amplifying the signal that gets through to the sensor. And the more you do that, the higher the risk of bad stuff happening. Don't want to get too technical here. So the combination of narrow aperture, slow shutter speed, low ISO, camera on a tripod, this is the foundation for sharp, high-quality landscape photos. You need to pick a focus point carefully to ensure you got all the foreground and the background in focus. So photographing a third of the way into a scene is a very crude rule of thumb, but it works. There's tables and apps and stuff you can get to work this out. Worth checking out, actually, because getting a sharp photo is our priority. It always is. And yes, although I call it depth of sharpness, depth of field is fine for landscape photography because you could be in a field. Okay, number 5, the small details, using foreground interest to boost landscapes. Whilst landscapes can be about the grand picture, paying attention to small things close to your camera can make a massive difference. Adding foreground interest gives your photo depth. It draws the viewer's eye into the scene and it can add a sense of scale. Look for elements like a solitary leaf, an interesting rock formation, a patch of vibrant wildflowers, a gnarled tree branch, a cuddly toy on the floor, a weathered fence post, or even a puddle reflecting the sky. Always dead handy. That's a great tip, that one, actually. Puddles reflecting the sky can really add interest to any scene. Any of these elements can transform a flat, 2-dimensional image into a captivating 3-dimensional one. See, these things, they act as an anchor, inviting the viewer into the scene and providing context. When composing, ensure this foreground element is also in sharp focus along with the middle ground and the background by using that narrow aperture we talked about earlier and getting your focus point right, so you got the bit in front of the focus point sharp as well. Don't include something in the foreground if it's not going to be sharp. If you can't get it sharp, get rid of it. Or don't include it in the photo is a better way of putting it. It's about creating a visual journey for the viewer. I'll say it again, it's about creating a visual journey for the viewer rather than just showing them a distant, unengaging view. Yes, dear listener, a visual journey. That is what our photos need to be. See, we need to think grandly about these things, don't we? Yes, we do, Rick. So there you have it, your first 5 steps to getting started with landscape photography, applicable wherever you are. It's about looking differently, understanding and using the light, composing thoughtfully, and knowing a few key camera settings. Here's something for you to do, dear listener. Grab your camera or your phone and head to your local park or a nearby spot of your choosing. And try applying these 5 steps. Walk around, look and think, explore different angles, getting low or high. Tip 1. Go during golden hour or on an overcast day. Tip 2. And then if you can, take a photo of the same thing that you got at golden hour when the light's rubbish and compare the difference. Very, very useful thing to do. Tip 2. Practice composition with the rule of thirds and leading lines only, thinking about how you guide the eye. And that was tip 3. And if you got a camera, experiment with narrower apertures like f11 or f16. And if you got one, use a tripod and have your ISO as low as you can do, and that was tip 4. And actively seek out foreground interest to add depth to your photos. Tip 5. See how these simple changes transform your photos from simple snapshots to compelling images. And let's not forget, try to get the best one photo that you can of each one thing you're looking at. Episode 152 covers this, and I need to revisit my one photo rule. Right, moving on. What if I use a phone to take my photos? Well, your phone's a surprisingly capable landscape photography tool, especially with these tips in mind. Most smartphone cameras inherently have a very deep depth of field and have a wide-angle focal length, and these two things are fantastic for keeping everything in focus from front to back. Which is what you want for landscape photos, isn't it? Yes, it is, Rick. So to get the best photo that you can, here's some things to think about. Firstly, tap on the foreground element you want to be sharp. Ensure your phone's steady. Use the built-in grid lines for rule of thirds. Try panorama mode if you want to. And remember golden hour light principles, because these apply whatever you're taking photos with. It's not about the device, it's about the light. But when you're taking landscape photos with a phone, remember this. Make sure you don't have photos with everything too small and too far away, which is a common problem with phone photography. People just look lost. You've got to get something in there of interest. Get some foreground interest if you want to get the depth in your photos. And with a phone, because you've got such a wide angle focal length, you're going to have to get close in on something. Right, what do I do? Well, I love landscape photography. This is my downtime. This is my fun time. And I love walking around places. I love looking and thinking. I love exploring. And yes, this is really what I do. And some of the best landscape photos I've taken, they have been in local parks. I got some amazing photos in some local woods that I'd never been to before, driven past them hundreds of times. I got some amazing photos less than a mile from where I used to live. There are things out there that we can all photograph. This is my approach to landscape photography. And it's very similar to my approach to architectural photography work. Surprisingly similar. Firstly, meticulous viewpoint selection. I spend significant time finding the absolute best angle and framing, eliminating distractions and controlling the background. This is the walking, looking and thinking bit. Narrow apertures. I consistently use narrower apertures, f8 and f16 typically, for maximum depth of sharpness. Ensuring everything from a foreground shrub to a distant building is crisp. Now a quick word on that. I'm always using a focal length of 17mm. That's my starting position. So at 17mm, f8 gives me the depth of field I need, in case you were thinking that's not that narrow an aperture. At 17mm, it is fine. Okay, tripod dependency. Yep, I nearly always use the tripod for absolute stability, and it means I don't need to worry about the shutter speed even though my ISO is at 100, because my camera's on a tripod and I'm using AV mode, so the shutter speed is what the shutter speed is. I don't worry about it, I don't think about it, because landscape photography, photos of buildings, what I'm photographing isn't moving. And if the clouds are moving, I've got a long shutter speed. Ace, I've got something different in there. I've got some interest in the sky. You've got to be careful where you've got trees and what have you blowing in the wind if you've got a slow shutter speed. But apart from that, all good. I prioritise strong composition, starting with the rule of thirds, leading lines, then adding foreground interest to add depth and context. Those are the three things that I do with all my photos. And on the ISO, I stick to ISO 100 on my Canon 6D for the cleanest image quality, which is crucial for fine details. And if you're going to do large prints or what have you. This can also help you if you're cropping a photo. If you just want to take a small section out of a photo and you've got loads of noise, it's not going to work. But if you're using the lowest ISO, you're getting the highest image quality capture, meaning you can crop in quite a long way. It's quite surprising how far in you can go. So just a little side point there. So this is what I do. And the aim is that every photo I take is crystal clear, professional, reflects my vision, and it's a great photo. And there's a possibility of that photo being better than one of the photos in one of my portfolios. Want to see my portfolios? Check out rickmcavoyphotography.com/portfolios. Or portfolio. Not sure which. Sorry, I should know about that, considering the work I've been doing on my website. Right, final takeaways and a summary for your first steps into landscape photography. Getting into landscape photography, it's easier than you think, and the principles apply everywhere. Remember these things: explore your viewpoint, move around, experiment with high and low angles, left and right to find the most compelling view and eliminate distractions in the background and to the sides, to be fair. Light. Use the best light for the photograph that you're taking. Make the best of what you've got. If you can photograph in gold now, great, but if you can't, think about the light, what it's doing, and make the best of what you've got. Compose with purpose. Use the rule of thirds for placement. Use leading lines to make interest. Add foreground interest. Those three things will help your photos. Dial in your camera settings, yes. Use narrow apertures, f8, f16 for deep depth of field. Use a tripod for sharpness. Keep the ISO low. And use AV mode. You don't care about the shutter speed. Oh, and if you're doing that, use a self-timer or remote release. Don't just clumsily stab the shutter release button if you're doing a 10-second exposure, because your camera will be moving for 10 seconds. Practice these things in your local park and hopefully you'll be amazed at what you get. And if you do that, let me know. Okay, some thoughts from the last episode. Mastering depth of field. It's a cornerstone of creative photography. I hope you're experimenting with those wide apertures for blurry backgrounds and narrow ones for sharp landscapes. Let me know if you are and how you're getting on. Always lovely to hear from you, dear listeners. Okay, next week, episode 214. Finding your best angle, simple tips for better composition. Yes, I'm expanding on what I talked about today, and we're going to get into a little bit more detail. Not too much, obviously. And the note on my script is, check this is correct, because it might be the wrong episode. So episode 214, finding your best angle. Yes, it is. Great. Okay, a quick plug for me and what I do. Well, why not, eh? If I can't plug myself on my podcast, where can I? So you found this podcast, why not check out my splendid website, rickmcavoyphotography.com, where I write blog posts about my photographs of buildings and other good stuff. And you'll find all the blog posts for this podcast. And on my courses page, rickmcavoyphotography.com, you will find my splendid course, How to Become a Real Estate Photographer. And you can also find me on YouTube talking about my podcast and my blog and all sorts of things photography related. Just type Rick McEvoy into YouTube and you'll find me. Get an email from me. Do you want a weekly email from me? Well, why wouldn't you? Fill in the box on the homepage of my website, and every Friday you will read my photography thoughts like lots of other people. And if you want to ask me a question, just fill in the Ask Me a Question form on the Ask Me a Question page, rickmcavoyphotography.com, ask-me-a-question. And your question will be with me before you know it. How utterly splendid. Or even easier, you can text me from the podcast feed. Now, whatever you do, it's always lovely to hear from you, dear listeners. Okay, subscribe and never miss an episode. Well, if you're enjoying the podcast, subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. It ensures you get every new episode and help us reach more photographers. So don't delay, subscribe today. Now, last episode I told you there would be changes coming up to the podcast website, and today I can tell you that this work is 90% complete. I've moved the content from photographyexplainedpodcast.com to rickmcavoyphotography.com, which will soon be my one and only place on the internet. It's a shiny new website with new pages, portfolios, and all sorts of good stuff, so check out rickmcavoyphotography.com. This episode was brought to you by a cheese and pickle sandwich and a sugar-free fizzy drink. Yes, really, which I consumed before settling into my homemade acoustically cushioned recording emporium. I've been Rick McEvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast, it says here, and for giving me 27 minutes of your valuable time. Yes, the 27 minutes is ironic. And I hope this episode is going to be about 21 to 23 minutes long after editing out the mistakes and other bad stuff. I don't know, because I had a phone call and somebody knocked at the door during the recording of this, so my recording time is currently 47 minutes. Blimey, that's a bit of editing to do, isn't it? Okay, thanks for listening. Take care, stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick. How to become a real estate photographer? rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses.